And then as you check in, you'll start to learn that different practices seem more connected in your body to different things. So checking in, have you yet noticed that sometimes when you check in, a couple of the check-in points rise to awareness first? If that should happen, that's normal. You need not go through the entire check-in. In the beginning, when you're getting used to coming into your body, it's nice to look in places that you wouldn't think to look. But if you're feeling like, wow, we've been sitting for a while, my physical energy is low, everything feels dull, I'm not really in my body, those would be natural, normal things to feel. Then what you will do when you get your check-in is transition your eyes to open. And then here, this will be all about play. So please know that it's not about getting it in the right place. And this is the trick to a lot of placement in the tissue work. If you close your eyes, you will be able to feel it because that turns the mind down a little, did I get the right thing? And then you can spin out of control. So to dampen that, you may close your eyes. And then it's okay to start anywhere, but for the purpose of just right now, I'm going to choose the area at the bottom part of the foot, right from the edge of the heel to where the heel meets the arch. And right where the heel meets the arch, if you step into the ball and leave a little space from the wall, so we'll turn into the side, you can kind of feel that there's a bed of connective tissue there. So right at the edge of the heel, and if you go too far up the foot, you'll feel like, oh, I'm in the center of the foot now. So right where the heel ends. And then you can kind of lean against the wall, and if you stand away from the wall and lean in, or what you can also do is lean in with a forearm if there's any balance stuff going on for you. And so that you are at a little bit of an angle, we'll start with the inside edge, right where the heel meets the arch, so the inner seam. And then you kind of press into that. Now I have realized, oh, my foot is a little far away, so I'm gonna bring it in, and that feels a little better. So just be comfy, and then you can start to, the first couple of times it might feel like, oh gosh, the ball's gonna slip out, what do I do about that? And then you realize, oh, it's really easier than it feels. And you might step away from the wall and use your core a little more, but we start to pulse a little, and then each time you press down into the ball, you can use an exhale when you lift off and inhale, if you remember. And then slowly working your way to the center of that same bed, going right across the juncture between the heel and the arch. That's what it sounds like. That was not a soda pop, but it was a tennis ball container. And then going to the outside edge. Now the outside edge can be a little tricky to access, so you might bring that closer into the wall, or whatever you discover in your experimentation allows you to turn the foot so that the inner seam lifts and you're pressing into the outer edge, and it will fall out. That's totally okay. Then we listen, remember, for that point of saturation where your foot's like, all right, I got it. And then when you reach that point, we get to go right into the center of the sole and start kind of rocking your weight. Each exhale, pressing in. Each inhale, lifting off. And how many of you notice a little tenderness in the sole of the foot? I know I have some. And we might not have realized it was there. And so part of this is that there's a lot of plantar fascial issues, fasciitis and other things, which is inflammation of the connective tissue in the feet. What would you guess that might be from? Yeah, wearing shoes everywhere. And there's another thing I've begun to put together is that, how many of you notice that your toes grip when you're doing yoga poses? They kind of curl into the mat. That's a sign of tension, right? So it can amplify the nervous system. But I feel like it's an involuntary attempt to get stimulation in the soles of the feet. Recently, I was watching someone's young baby walk, and the baby was walking in the oddest, like a duck, kind of slapping the feet on the floor, and it was stimulation, and we need that. But after a certain age, no one wants us to be going around barefoot, so we go into shoes and we lose that. We have no stimulation. Every surface around us, most surfaces are smooth, right? Even rugs. So, and now we're working our way up. I'll come back to that in a moment. there is a place you can feel where the base of your toes are. If you went right on the bone of the toe, it just doesn't work well, but a little bit toward the arch from that, right where the ball of the foot starts to come. So it's right at that juncture where the arch of your foot starts to meet the base of all your toes. If you go onto the tips of your toes, I mean, you could try gripping the ball with the tips, but it's more just a cool thing and less connective tissue. So getting the inner seam, whatever that angle takes for you. You can hold on to the wall to get it there. Center seam. And then when you're doing the center seam, let's take one brief rest. Come back to the center of the sole of the foot. And I was talking about toe gripping. So curl your toes over the ball. Can you feel right where the ball is at the center of the sole, all that tissue contracts? You feel the connective tissue contract? And then if you spread your toes and lift them, like we did with the foot lift in yoga, you feel that bed expand. But shoes do not allow you to lift that way, nor do they give us arch support. So just kind of looking at, I sometimes think that when we do toe gripping, it's because our feet are just trying to feel some kind of grounding and stimulation. Now, when you reach your saturation point, slowly coming away from the wall, and then doing a little walking. And so let's see what we find in our body when we walk. Does the foot that you did we all do right, or did we alternate? You did the opposite? Totally cool. So the foot that you did, does that feel more spacious, like it's a longer, wider, bigger? Like we're Bigfoot now. Tingly, yep. And then in comparison, what does the other foot feel like? Contracted and tight. And then that footwork, believe it or not, because this connective tissue is all linked, it can affect the hip joint. So as you continue to walk, do you notice that one hip might feel looser and springier, almost though you could walk like this? You know? So let yourself walk a little like your feet want you to walk. What would that feel like? Because we walk in a kind of heavy gravitational way. But do you feel like your foot is like a springboard now? It can kind of spring you up and off. It's funny because as adults doing that little spring walk, we're all a little intimidated. Will someone see me? And this is geeky. But I think the body is inherently like geeky and springy and sort of joyful. And it doesn't worry about what it looks like doing something. The balls give us the opportunity to do this for our own body. And we're doing interoceptive awareness at the same time. It's like a 4-for-1. Right? So just noticing what is it like. And then I've said this a bunch of times, but with foam rollers, it's this idea that I'm just going to roll it out. Zip, 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 and then you're done. But we can also let awareness come to the point of contact, whether it's hands on the body or whether it's ball on the body. And that's an interoceptive anchor. It gives the mind a place to go to be in the body. And then you can also direct your breath with your mind to where that point of contact is. So we're hydrating tissue, we're practicing interoception, we're releasing tight spaces in the feet and in the hips. And then we could also do this as a prelude to an active yoga practice.